civil media.
However, since you in your introductory speech insist on speaking about what will happen during this year, 2019, and even 2020, I believe that Macedonia or part of the government led by Zaev and the objectives set by him, for example, the announcement that the next year will be an economic year. I had the occasion on several times to criticize these statements because it is impossible for a year to be proclaimed as an economic year, especially economic one, because economy cannot be a subject for a single year, because all years have to be economic, and some other specific objectives are objectives to be insisted and strive towards being realized within 1 year by the government and so on and so forth. However, I want to speak about one aspect of the problems, which is the potential danger and the potential bomb or obstruction of any reform whatsoever in the next year that the citizens of Macedonia and the EU expect. We know the importance of the accession of Macedonia in NATO, that's why I don't have to mention this. However, I want to go a bit back to the Przino agreement and how it was reached. And this is not by chance why I insist on this, because some of the participants at the negotiations in Przino is currently in the government. That time it was very difficult, in addition to postponing a bit the early elections. What was even more difficult was the establishment of the Special Public Prosecution Office and to prohibit the further publishing of the famous bombs. Recently, the minister that you have mentioned, Mr. Roth, also indicated and said that those bombs should continue to be published. This is a recommendation of the Venetian Commission as well, and it is also a recommendation of PRIBE. However, this faced significant resistance. Currently, the reforms being expected to be realized in 2019 will face the resistance of the coalition partner DUI in terms of the continuation of the work of the Special Public Prosecution Office. I don't want this to be understood as something minor, because such reforms really need the 80 MPs in the Assembly, and it will be difficult to expect to publish those bombs from any side, and there is also an imminent danger for such bombs to emerge from different sides. And maybe Zaev can agree on this, although for the bombs, for the officials of DUI, they have them themselves. I don't know how, but they were provided with them. They were given such bombs, and they cannot allow for any bomb to be published, because it would bring into question the functioning of the coalition. And DUI will not allow and vote for the changes of the electoral code. In one occasion, the leader of this political party at the latest elections has posed a question on a debate for women in Tetovo, why this person is for the third time proposed to be in the MP's list, and they just answered, what can I do with him? He doesn't even know how to work a painting job. So he doesn't say the people have selected him. He just says, I have nothing to do with him because he cannot provide for his family in any other manner. And they will not allow, due to those reasons, the change of the electoral code by which the citizens could vote individuals that would represent their interests in front of the assembly. Maybe to some this might seem naive, but no further reforms in the in the state administration and the judiciary will not be allowed, because 2,000 or 3,000 people who account for 20 or 30,000 voters because they are actually bringing money to their homes from the state budget, public budget, paid by all of us. And those who will try, for example, to change those things, for example, the civil courts and judiciary and so on, and if anyone mentioning the corruption of the head officials of DUI, there is a special judge who I don't want to mention. They are immediately sanctioned with insults and defamation. So in such cases, when they occur, this judge is given with those cases. There was a huge, for example, scandal with Telecom in Macedonia, and afterwards it was expanded. Why am I mentioning all these things? Because if a step is made forward to resolve this issue, and if it is not made, there will be no reforms. And if we make these steps, then huge reforms will have to take place. And DUI is also faced with the triple reduction of their voters, and I have written on this topic as well. And if they fail to remove those persons who obstruct them, they will also cause the hindrance for this entire process. Much of this goes in favor of those MPs from VMRO who are now outside of VMRO. So it will be very difficult for any form to be passed at the Assembly if it is somehow concerned with their position. So soon we will all witness, because there are such symptoms, that any reform whatsoever, and the Minister of Labour and Social Policy is well informed of that, and we know that such reforms, any potential reforms, will face the resistance to their implementation. So these are the actual dangers or threats that might emerge during this year, which would concern the potential efforts to open such issues. And also, I would like to use this opportunity to indicate that this abuse of political leaders at the meetings with the foreign representatives, especially the ambassadors who go to Mala Rečica, because I have nothing to blame them for, because they changed, but the parties are using them for propaganda objectives, and now we receive lengthy announcements what the leader has told the ambassador. For example, to you, Ambassador, and so on and so forth. So they give details what they have said, but they say nothing about what the ambassador has told them. And for 5 and even more years, the EU ambassador was here. He was more than 5 years here, and he had frequent visits, frequent meetings. And they had many announcements. For example, the EU ambassador supports us, and so on and so forth. And at the end 2014, the ambassador Ervan Fuere came to their Congress, and I was present at that Congress, and he was asking them questions. Gentlemen, could you tell us what did you do during your position and authority and government? And but why didn't you, Ambassador, say that they are doing nothing? And you're asking this question after your term has been completed. This is a question that I wanted to ask him, but I didn't ask him. So even the foreign representatives, whether they're ambassadors, representatives, and so on and so forth, would have to know what do the political parties do, especially DUI, for example, and how they abuse their meetings with them. Yes, there are meetings, but not only what they said, but also what the other party has said. Oh, we will say nothing because the meeting was secret, and so on and so forth. What I said was an intention, there was an objective, because I wanted all of you to know what we will witness in the next months ahead. There will be no parliamentary elections. I hope that the year will be an economic one, but with the measures being undertaken by this government, I don't see that any results will be produced whatsoever which would help the revival of the economy. Because regardless of that, the NATO accession would not resolve this problem for us. Even Albania has acceded NATO, but it is a good thing, but these issues regarding the economy, corruption, crime cannot be resolved in that manner. So we are daily witnessing the corruption affairs, and more steps are required to be undertaken in that direction. So it is the case in Albania, and it will be the case in our country. And at the end, I would like to quote the latest president of the Anti-Corruption Commission. They say that they were experts, but where did they prepare themselves for corruption in Macedonia? And she said that her first step would be dealing with the challenges of the presidential elections challenges. But you are witnesses of the corruptive behavior of the members of this government, and you are now announcing that the first step would be the dealing with the challenges of the presidential elections, as if you know in advance that immediately there will be corruptive behavior there. That's it. Thank you.
Civil Media